双语音标领航，注音阅读启蒙，叶兴阳有声读物。
Diary of a Pilgrimage by Jerome K. Jerome. Preface. Said a friend of mine to me some months ago, "Well now, why don't you write a sensible book? I should like to see you make people think. Do you believe it can be done?"
Then
I asked. "Well,
try,"
he replied. Accordingly, I have tried. This is a sensible book. I want you to understand that. This is a book to improve your mind. In this book, I tell you all about Germany at all events. All I know about Germany and the Oberammergau Passion Play. I also tell you about other things. I do not tell you all I know about all these other things, because I do not want to swamp you with knowledge. I wish to lead you gradually. When you have learnt this book, you can come again, and I will tell you some more. I should only be defeating my own object, did I, by making you think too much at first, give you a perhaps lasting dislike to the exercise. I have purposely put the matter in a light and attractive form, so that I may secure the attention of the young and the frivolous. I do not want them to notice, as they go on, that they are being instructed, and I have, therefore, endeavored to disguise from them, so far as is practicable, that this is either an exceptionally clever or an exceptionally useful work. I want to do them good without their knowing it. I want to do you all good to improve your minds and to make you think, if I can, what you will think after you have read the book. I do not want to know. Indeed, I would rather not know. It will be sufficient reward for me to feel that I have done my duty, and to receive a percentage on the gross sales. London, March 1891. Diary of a Pilgrimage. Monday, 19th. My friend B. Invitation to the theater. A most unpleasant regulation. Yearnings of the embryo traveler. How to make the most of one's own country. Friday. A lucky day. The pilgrimage decided on. My friend B called on me this morning and asked me if I would go to theater with him on Monday next.
"Oh, yes, certainly,
Old man," I replied. "Have you got an order?"
Then
he said.
"No,
They don't give orders. We shall have to pay." Pay? Pay to go into a theater? I answered, in astonishment.
"Oh,
Nonsense. You are joking." "My dear fellow," he rejoined, "do you think I should suggest paying if it were possible to get in by any other means? But the people who run this theater would not even understand what was meant by a free list. The uncivilized barbarians. It is of no use pretending to them that you are on the press, because they don't want the press. They don't think anything of the press. It is no good writing to the acting manager, because there is no acting manager. It would be a waste of time offering to exhibit bills, because they don't have any bills not of that sort. If you want to go in to see the show,
you've got to pay.
If you don't pay, you stop outside. That's their brutal rule." "Dear me," I said, "what a very unpleasant arrangement. And whereabouts is this extraordinary theater? I don't think I can ever have been inside it." "I don't think you have," he replied. "It is at Oberammergau, first turning on the left after you leave Ober railway station, 50 miles from Munich." Rather out of the way for a theater," I said. "I should not have thought an outlying house like that could have afforded to give itself airs." "The house holds 7,000 people," answered my friend B. "And money is turned away at each performance. The first production is on Monday next. Will you come?" I pondered for a moment, looked at my diary, and saw that Aunt Emma was coming to spend Saturday to Wednesday next with us. Calculated that if I went I should miss her, and might not see her again for years, and decided that I would go. To tell the truth, it was the journey more than the play that tempted me. To be a great traveler has always been one of my cherished ambitions. I yearn to be able to write in this sort of strain. I have smoked my fragrant Havana in the sunny streets of old Madrid, and I have puffed the rude and not sweet-smelling calumet of peace in the draughty wigwam of the Wild West. I have sipped my evening coffee in the silent tent, while the tethered camel browsed without upon the desert grass, and I have quaffed the fiery brandy of the north while the reindeer munched his fodder beside me in the hut. and the pale light of the midnight sun through the shadows of the pines across the snow. I have felt the stab of lustrous eyes that,
ghost-like,
looked at me from out veil-covered faces in Byzantium's narrow ways. And I have laughed back, though it was wrong of me to do so, at the saucy, wanton glances of the black-eyed girls of Jito. I have wandered where good but not too good Haroun ul Raskid crept disguised at nightfall, with his faithful Mesrer by his side. I have stood upon the bridge where Dante watched the sainted Beatrice pass by. I have floated on the waters that once bore the barge of Cleopatra. I have stood where Caesar fell. I have heard the soft rustle of rich, rare robes in the drawing-rooms of Mayfair, and I have heard the teeth necklaces rattle around the ebony throats of the belles of Tongadabo. I have panted beneath the sun's fierce rays in India, and frozen under the icy blasts of Greenland. I have mingled with the teeming hordes of old Cathay, and, deep in the great pine forests of the Western world, I have lain, wrapped in my blanket, 1,000 miles beyond the shores of human life.
B.
To whom I explained my leaning towards the style of diction, said that exactly the same effect could be produced by writing about places quite handy. He said, I could go on like that without having been outside England at all. I should say, I have smoked my 4-penny shag in the sanded bars of Fleet Street, and I have puffed my 2-penny Manila in the gilded balls of the Criterion. I have quaffed my foaming beer of Burton where Islington's famed angel gathers the little thirsty ones beneath her shadowing wings. And I have sipped my 10-penny ordinaire in many a garlic-scented salon of Soho. On the back of the strangely moving ass I have urged, or, to speak more correctly, the proprietor of the ass, or his agent, from behind has urged my wild career across the sandy heaths of Hampstead, and my canoe has startled the screaming wildfowl from their lonely haunts amid the subtropical regions of Battersea. Adown the long, steep slope of One Tree Hill have I rolled from top to foot, while laughing maidens of the East stood round and clapped their hands and yelled, and, in the old-world garden of that pleasant court, where played the fair-haired children of the ill-starred Stuarts, have I wandered long through many paths, my arm entwined about the waist of one of Eve's sweet daughters, while her mother raged around indignantly on the other side of the hedge, and never seemed to get any nearer to us. I have chased the lodging-house Norfolk Howard to his watery death by the pale lamp's light. I have, shivering, followed the leaping flea o'er many a mile of pillow and sheet, by the great Atlantic's margin, round and round, till the heart and not only the heart grows sick, and the mad brain whirls and reels, have I ridden the small, but extremely hard, horse, that may, for a penny, be mounted amid the plains of Peckham Rye, and high above the heads of the giddy throngs of Barnet, though it is doubtful if anyone among them was half so giddy as was I, have I swung in highly colored car, worked by a man with a rope. I have trod in stately measure the floor of Kensington's Town Hall. The tickets were a guinea each, and included refreshments when you could get to them through the crowd. And on the green sward of the forest that borders eastern Anglia by the oft-sung town of Epping I have performed quaint ceremonies in a ring. I have mingled with the teeming hordes of Drury Lane on Boxing Night, and, during the run of a high-class piece, I have sat in lonely grandeur in the front row of the gallery, and wished that I had spent my shilling instead in the oriental halls of the Alhambra. There you are,
said B.
That is just as good as yours, and you can write like that without going more than a few hours' journey from London. We will discuss the matter no further. I replied, You cannot, I see, enter into my feelings. The wild heart of the traveler does not throb within your breast. You cannot understand his longings. No matter. Suffice it that I will come this journey with you. I will buy a German conversation book, and a check suit, and a blue veil, and a white umbrella, and such like necessities of the English tourist in Germany. This very afternoon. When do you start?
Well,
he said, it is a good 2 days' journey. I propose to start on Friday. Is not Friday rather an unlucky day to start on? I suggested.
Oh.
Good gracious, he retorted quite sharply. What rubbish next? As if the affairs of Europe were going to be arranged by Providence according to whether you and I start for an excursion on a Thursday or a Friday. He said he was surprised that a man who could be so sensible, occasionally, as myself, could have patience to even think of such old womanish nonsense. He said that years ago, when he was a silly boy, he used to pay attention to this foolish superstition himself, and would never upon any consideration start for a trip upon a Friday.
But
one year, he was compelled to do so. It was a case of either starting on a Friday or not going at all, and he determined to chance it. He went, prepared for and expecting a series of accidents and misfortunes. To return home alive was the only bit of pleasure he hoped for from that trip. As it turned out, however, he had never had a more enjoyable holiday in his life before. The whole event was a tremendous success, and after that, he had made up his mind to always start on a Friday, and he always did, and always had a good time. He said that he would never, upon any consideration, start for a trip upon any other day but a Friday now. It was so absurd, this superstition about Friday. So we agreed to start on the Friday, and I am to meet him at Victoria Station at 7:45 in the evening. Thursday,
22nd.
The question of luggage. First friend's suggestion, second friend's suggestion, third friend's suggestion, Mrs. Briggs' advice, our vicar's advice, his wife's advice, medical advice, literary advice, George's recommendation, my sister-in-law's help, young Smith's counsel, my own ideas, B's idea. I've been a good deal worried today about the question of what luggage to take with me. I met a man this morning, and he said,
"Oh,
if you're going to Oberammergau, mind you take plenty of warm clothing with you. You'll need all your winter things up there." He said that a friend of his had gone up there some years ago, and had not taken enough warm things with him, and had caught a chill there, and had come home and died. He said, "You be guided by me, and take plenty of warm things with you." I met another man later on, and he said, "I hear you're going abroad.
now, tell me,
What part of Europe are you going to?" I replied that I thought it was somewhere about the middle. He said,
well, now,
"You take my advice, and get a calico suit and a sunshade. Never mind the look of the thing. You be comfortable. You've no idea of the heat on the continent at this time of the year. English people will persist in traveling about the continent in the same stuffy clothes that they wear at home. That's how so many of them get sunstrokes,
and are ruined for life."
I went into the club, and there I met a friend of mine, a newspaper correspondent who has traveled a good deal, and knows Europe pretty well. I told him what my two other friends had said, and asked him which I was to believe. He said, "Well, as a matter of fact, they are both right. You see, up in those hilly districts, the weather changes very quickly. In the morning it may be blazing hot, and you'll be melting, and in the evening you may be very glad of a flannel shirt and a fur coat."
"Why,
"That is exactly the sort of weather we have in England," I exclaimed. "If that's all these foreigners can manage in their own country, what right have they to come over here, as they do, and grumble about our weather?" "Well, as a matter of fact," he replied, "they haven't any right, but you can't stop them, they will do it.
no,
You take my advice, and be prepared for everything. Take a cool suit and some thin things, for if it's hot, and plenty of warm things in case it is cold." When I got home, I found Mrs. Briggs there, she having looked in to see how the baby was. She said,
"Oh,
"If you're going anywhere near Germany, you take a bit of soap with you." She said that Mr. Briggs had been called over to Germany once in a hurry, on business, and had forgotten to take a piece of soap with him, and didn't know enough German to ask for any when he got over there, and didn't see any to ask for even if he had known, and was away for 3 weeks, and wasn't able to wash himself all the time, and came home so dirty that they didn't know him, and mistook him for the man that was to come to see what was the matter with the kitchen boiler. Mrs. Briggs also advised me to take some towels with me, as they give you such small towels to wipe on. I went out after lunch, and met our vicar. He said, "Take a blanket with you, He said that not only did the German hotel keepers never give you sufficient bedclothes to keep you warm of a night, but they never properly aired their sheets. He said that a young friend of his had gone for a tour through Germany once, and had slept in a damp bed, and had caught rheumatic fever, and had come home and died. His wife joined us at this point. He was waiting for her outside a draper's shop when I met him. He explained to her that I was going to Germany, and she said,
"Oh,
take a pillow with you. They don't give you any pillows not like our pillows, and it's so wretched. You'll never get a decent night's rest if you don't take a pillow." She said, "You can have a little bag made for it, and it doesn't look anything." I met our doctor a few yards further on. He said, "Don't forget to take a bottle of brandy with you. It doesn't take up much room, and if you're not used to German cooking, you'll find it handy in the night." He added that the brandy you get at foreign hotels was mere poison, and that it was really unsafe to travel abroad without a bottle of brandy. He said that a simple thing like a bottle of brandy in your bag might often save your life. Coming home, I ran against a literary friend of mine. He said, "You'll have a goodish time in the train, old fellow. Are you used to long railway journeys?" I said,
well,
"I've traveled down from London into the very heart of Surrey by a southeastern express."
oh,
"That's a mere nothing, compared with what you've got before you now," he answered. "Look here, I'll tell you a very good idea of how to pass the time. You take a chessboard with you, and a set of men. You'll thank me for telling you that." George dropped in during the evening. He said, "I'll tell you one thing you'll have to take with you, old man, and that's a box of cigars and some tobacco." He said that the German cigar, the better class of German cigar, was of the brand that is technically known over here as the Penny Pickwick Spring Crop, and he thought that I should not have time, during the short stay I contemplated making in the country, to acquire a taste for its flavor. My sister-in-law came in later on in the evening. She is a thoughtful girl, and brought a box with her about the size of a tea chest. She said,
now,
"You slip that in your bag. You'll be glad of that. There's everything there for making yourself a cup of tea." She said that they did not understand tea in Germany, but that with that I should be independent of them. She opened the case and explained its contents to me. It certainly was a wonderfully complete arrangement. It contained a little caddy full of tea, a little bottle of milk, a box of sugar, a bottle of methylated spirit, a box of butter, and a tin of biscuits. Also, a stove, a kettle, a teapot, 2 cups, 2 saucers, 2 plates, 2 knives, and 2 spoons. If there had only been a bed in it, one need not have bothered about hotels at all. Young Smith, the secretary of our photographic club, called at 9 to ask me to take him a negative of the statue of the dying gladiator in the Munich Sculpture Gallery. I told him that I should be delighted to oblige him, but that I did not intend to take my camera with me. "Not take your camera,"
he said.
"You are going to Germany, to Rhineland. You are going to pass through some of the most picturesque scenery, and stay at some of the most ancient and famous towns of Europe, and are going to leave your photographic apparatus behind you, and you call yourself an artist." He said I should never regret a thing more in my life than going without that camera. I think it is always right to take other people's advice in matters where they know more than you do. It is the experience of those who have gone before that makes the way smooth for those who follow. So, after supper, I got together the things I had been advised to take with me, and arranged them on the bed, adding a few articles I had thought of all by myself. I put up plenty of writing paper and a bottle of ink, along with a dictionary and a few other books of reference, in case I should feel inclined to do any work while I was away. I always like to be prepared for work. One never knows when one may feel inclined for it. Sometimes, when I have been away, and have forgotten to bring any paper and pens and ink with me, I have felt so inclined for writing, and it has quite upset me that, in consequence of not having brought any paper and pens and ink with me, I have been unable to sit down and do a lot of work, but have been compelled, instead, to lounge about all day with my hands in my pockets. Accordingly, I always take plenty of paper and pens and ink with me now, wherever I go. so that when the desire for work comes to me, I need not check it. That this craving for work should have troubled me so often, when I had no paper, pens, and ink by me, and that it never, by any chance, visits me now, when I am careful to be in a position to gratify it, is a matter over which I have often puzzled. But when it does come, I shall be ready for it. I also put on the bed a few volumes of Goethe, because I thought it would be so pleasant to read him in his own country. And I decided to take a sponge, together with a small portable bath, because a cold bath is so refreshing the first thing in the morning. B came in just as I had got everything into a pile. He stared at the bed, and asked me what I was doing. I told him I was packing. Great heavens! He exclaimed. I thought you were moving. What do you think we are going to do, camp out?
No.
I replied. But these are the things I have been advised to take with me. What is the use of people giving you advice if you don't take it? He said.
Oh.
Take as much advice as you like,